The Toy Story part of this pre-built is really cool. The MSI part is a mess. Other than the damage, which is partly MSI's fault and partly from shipping, MSI also forgot to enable XMP, letting the RAM run at significantly reduced speeds from what's advertised. The Buzz Lightyear GPU broke at the PCIe slot as a result of MSI's failure to properly expand its expanding foam pack.
A crash landed on a strange planet.
And so the GN curse continues. It appears we have been chosen.
I have been chosen.
Dead GPU, damaged PCIe slot, caved in top panel, XMP that's off, but there are also some good things here. The BIOS was custom skinned to be themed around Toy Story, which is attention to detail we didn't expect. Most of the core components are also customized, including the Buzz GPU, Woody motherboard, and claw-themed case. This is the Toy Story 30th Anniversary Limited Edition pre-built gaming PC, built by MSI, cross-branded with Disney and Pixar. Ours is number 91 of 500, and we bought it in Taiwan for $2,700 US. It's equal parts whimsy and disaster, and it comes with realistic battle damage from actual space battles. Despite tons of things going wrong, we benchmarked it anyway, and on the computer side of things, once we got it working by doing a GPU transplant, it's not bad. The thermals are okay, the OS is really clean, BIOS was unfortunately not configured, that was bad, but it's customized, which was cool. Before that, this video is brought to you by ID Cooling and the Frozen A720 cooler. The A720 air cooler performed well in our testing last year. The A720 is a relatively high-end, dual 140mm air cooler with 7 heat pipes. We found the use of larger fans can be beneficial to acoustic performance given the thermals, although you'll want to check your case for compatibility given the taller nature of the cooler and its fans. ID Cooling uses an all-black look for its A720 and includes mounting hardware for all modern sockets. Learn more at the link in the description below. So this pre-built PC is a collaboration between MSI and Disney and Pixar for the 30th anniversary of Toy Story, and yes, we all feel old now, and I am sorry. It is limited to 500 units. It's only sold in Taiwan, at least right now, and that means if you want it and you're not in Taiwan, it is possible to get it. We got it. You'll just have to figure out who the intermediary is to ship it to you. There's services that do it if you want to do that. Now, being a Taiwan exclusive, MSI's landing page for the system is in Chinese. If you just machine translate the page, it yields unintentionally funny results, like the toys' names, for example. They have Woody, Buzz Lightyear, Three-Eyed Monster, Zach Kane, and they say others, who, quote, accompanied us through childhood, end quote. Zach Kane is just Emperor Zurg. It's I guess a sound translation, must be a stage name or something. The custom Toy Story Edition parts are a surprisingly high effort. Woody motherboard, Buzz Lightyear GPU, Alien CPU cooler, Emperor Zurg power supply, and Space Crane claw machine case. Even higher effort are the product photos, undoubtedly handled by Disney and Pixar due to the quality of the set. Also, because even when the PC is on the desk, there's no monitor, keyboard, or anything else you'd actually need to use the computer. So this really is a very cool project. It's something we'd like to see more of in the computer space. It's unfortunate that parts of it were not executed well. It seems like most of those are the MSI part, but this is a Disney and MSI involved project, which means it is expensive. Here's a detailed look at the specs and the equivalent DIY parts. All of the Toy Story Edition parts have direct non-Toy Story Edition counterparts, making this easy. The downside is that none of the individual Toy Story components are available for sale standalone at the time of writing. And we don't have any issues with the part selection and isolation. The 245K and the RTX 5070 will be able to keep up with each other in most gaming scenarios without a heavy imbalance. They kind of make sense together. The price is the proverbial snake in the boot, though.
There's a snake in my boot.
Value is very bad from an objective standpoint, as the converted price from new Taiwan dollars to USD has almost $1,000 of increase over DIY. It's hard to put an exact value on the customized limited run parts, as that's entirely up to how much a buyer would be willing to pay for how they look. Also, strangely, a $1,000 increase on DIY parts cost at this baseline isn't the worst increase we've seen from pre-builds we've reviewed recently, and at least this one is customized. But again, if you're buying this at all, it's not for value, it's for what it's trying to do. And so as long as everyone's aware of that, it's a little easier to deal with. But the value is not good, just from a pure hardware perspective. All right, let's get into the teardown. All right, so we got to go out of order for our normal process. Normally we do the teardown after all the testing. This time we have to do it at the start, and that is because as soon as Jeremy started working on this, he told me there's a lot of damage, and that is very unfortunate. First of all, this first of all, this is not plugged in. This is probably supposed to be plugged in, so not sure what happened there. I'll inspect it to see if it had ever been plugged in, we can take it under a microscope. We should be able to see if there's wear marks and it got unplugged, which seems very unlikely, or if it was just left in the bottom. But ignoring the cable not being plugged into the GPU, this is also a problem. This is expanding foam. Expanding foam is pretty awesome because the way it works, they open the bag, they basically crack it open, and then they kind of knead the bag like a cat or something, and then it fully expands and fills the bag. Now, unfortunately, all of the foam is left down here, not expanded. So this is a problem. This was done incorrectly, and it was done on MSI's side when they were packing the computer in their facilities. So either this was a bad expanding foam bag, in which case it's their fault, or they didn't expand it properly, in which case it's their fault. So that's not good. That may not have helped, though, with this corner up here. So this is the first thing that jumped out at me, which is that there's this massive inflection here. That looks like drop damage during shipping. It did come across the world. I'm going to be a little more lenient there than I would normally be because of that. But the end result is still not good. So you'd see it's deflected, and also the screws here have popped out basically. So on the radiator, both the forwardmost two screws are pushed in through the mounting point. They should look like that, and they clearly don't. So that's not good either. Now, again, it did come across the world. Okay, we'll be a little more lenient. Some of this is still MSI's problem, like the foam. That's inexcusable. There's some more problems, though, such as, what did this come from? I can still see the MSI text on it. That's got to be a motherboard, I think. It's like either a SATA thing or a motherboard. Let's see. That is the PCIe retention slot. That's from the video card. The last time we saw that was on an iBuyPower system many years ago. That is what remains of the clamp for the PCIe slot in the motherboard. Man, that is really unfortunate. Now, it'll still work. You'll see that the PCIe gold connectors are not really in the slot. So they've popped out. It's not really being secured anymore by a mechanism. It's just kind of floating in there. We can fix this. It's like I can just do that, and then we can run the test without issues. Now, it's good, though, that we're doing this first, because if we had turned this on, there's always a chance that something in there shorts or bridges when it's not fully seated like that, and you could burn something out. It could be a short to ground. So fortunately, we didn't have that problem. We haven't powered it on yet because of all this damage, but it'll work at least. All right, so we're gonna stop the teardown here. Basically, I've done nothing. All I did was take out some broken plastic. I reseated the video card as best we can without the retention clip. We're gonna plug in the power cable after I have someone, probably Jeremy, look at this under a microscope and make sure if it's ever been plugged in before, and we have that forensic information. So what we're gonna do now that we've kind of cataloged and demonstrated the damage, we're gonna get this into testing, do the tests, and then come back for the teardown. That way we don't disturb anything else, including the thermal paste, so we can test it as it was built by MSI and go from there. Update, really bad news. Let's get in tight on this. This is the PCIe slot for the video card. There's a crack in there. We might need to get other shots of it, but it is split, like right where that foot comes down. And this is a problem because, in non-technical terms, video card no worky. It does not turn on. And that kind of kills a lot of stuff for us. So first of all, this is an MSI issue. This isn't like a shipping thing. This is someone did this for the expanding foam that's supposed to conform around the GPU. They deployed it to this level and they were like, looks good to me. And they threw it into the case, and then we get this. So that is MSI's fault. That's not shipping. There is good news though. Jeremy and I looked at this, and what we've identified is that the Buzz Lightyear card is a rebadge of this. So this is an existing MSI product. We ordered it overnight. I actually don't even remember which one it is. Gaming Trio OC. So this is a Gaming Trio OC 5070. It does not feel particularly good, nor does it look particularly good, but it does what we need, which is it has a PCB, and it's the same PCB, it's the same GPU, the MOSFETs are all the same, like everything's the same. Even the TIM should be the same. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna see if I can get away with, this is the plan, okay? I'm gonna see if I can get away with just pulling the shroud. I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but I'm hoping we can leave the heat sinks in place on both and swap the shrouds. And it's like nobody ever knew any different, which is especially important because this came from Taiwan. I am not there right now, just in case that wasn't clear. It would be very difficult to RMA this. You're really only supposed to be able to buy it in Taiwan, so we're gonna just make our own Buzz Lightyear card instead. All right, here's the plan. We're gonna start with the one that's broken. I was tempted to start with the other one, but this one has less to preserve. Is there a screw? Oh, there is. What's it say? Seal. Oh, factory. It just says factory seal. Okay, I can give them credit for that. Oh, that's very promising. All right, got a thermal pad on the back plate. It is metal, to their credit. But even the drag in here, like, check this out. Look at this. So this is the new one that I overnighted, and it is literally just a reskin, which is good for us. That's what we want. Falling with style.
That was falling with style.
Just like in the movie. All right. Oh, look at that. Oh man, this might be the luckiest break out of all the possible breaks. So the benefit of doing it this way is we don't disturb any of the thermal interfaces. So like it's still ultimately the MSI product that came out of the factory. If we can get it done this way, that would be awesome, because then we're perfectly preserving it all. That's gonna be fun, Jesus. There's a cable here I have to pull. That's not too bad. That's gonna be the problem to reinsert on the other side. Oh, got it, nice. Okay, cool, that actually works. All right, that worked in our favor this time. Sick. They are identical. This is gonna be the easiest possible fix. And if it's not, then we can jump transition from me saying that to whatever goes horribly wrong next. Come on, you fuck. God damn it. Fuck. God damn it, come on. Just gonna pull this whole friggin' thing out. Okay, cool. Sick. That is the functioning one. So now it receives the donor shroud. Man, this is like not. God. Oh, all right. We're in business. We got one. Possibly even in the right place. Tell you what, this fucking video card better play Buzz Lightyear quotes when it turns on. Let's start short-circuiting to infinity and beyond. Oh. Yo. Okay. We got two. I don't think this is how they assemble it in the factory. Okay. Jeez. They're all connected. Operation complete. It's very hot in here. The AC is loud and Patrick was doing noise testing, but it's done. We're gonna hand this off to Jeremy. I really hope he comes back with news that it works. He's like, bad news, this one's also cracked. Then I'm probably gonna throw it all out. So that's it. It was at least it was a relatively simple swap. It was really just that cable that took forever trying to get that in there, but it did go in. Doesn't obstruct the fan. We're good to go. Let's go to testing. Moving on to the accessories, we don't normally give a ton of time to the non-functional gimmicks of a pre-built, but here, the gimmicks are the reason someone would buy it in the first place. The outer boxes are marked Sunnyside, referencing the daycare in Toy Story 3, not SSUPD. The inner box for the PC has custom printing, including a Pizza Planet receipt for Al's Toy Barn. The accessory box had 5 Toy Story-themed magnetic case badges, the usual case toss-ins, and a GPU support, which we should probably put in place after we're done here considering the slot damage. The PC also came with a serialized certificate of authenticity, quote, celebrating 3 decades of imagination, creativity, and innovation, end quote. The second box had all the individual component boxes. The Toy Story themed ones for the motherboard, GPU, power supply, and CPU cooler look good enough that we wonder if Disney had more to do with them than MSI did. They're probably the only PC parts that come with Disney's holographic authenticity stickers on the boxes, and they do actually match the general toy-themed aesthetic with plastic windows, just like you see in Toy Story, so that was pretty cool. With all the cross-branding, we really wouldn't be surprised to see Lucky the Dragon make a cameo in a future Toy Story movie, maybe thrown into the incinerator. And we assume it'd be powered by 12-volt high power. There's also a whole box of vinyl figures and blocks thrown in as collectibles. Spare and unused power supply and internal cables were in the power supply box, which is great to see. Some companies in the past have neglected to include unused modular cables, but there's no reason not to, and plenty of reasons to include them. So it's good that they're here. There's no quick start guide or setup leaflet. This is a major oversight and something we want to see in every pre-built, as even something as basic as which port to plug the display into will affect the experience and usability. We'll move to packaging now. The system arrived with damage, an insane amount, as we showed earlier, considering how little the exterior boxes are screwed up. The original Buzz Lightyear themed RTX 5070 tried to fly around inside of the case, and only avoided falling with or without style by being screwed in at the rear slot brackets. It lit up and the fan spun, but it didn't give any video out, and the motherboard sat on the VGA light during boot. It didn't reach infinity, but it did go to the beyond. As a result, the Woody-themed Z890 motherboard suffered some damage to the primary PCIe slot. The locking latch was broken in two, rattling around inside the case, and the slot armor got bent. Not as bad as the iPower slate from 4 years ago, but this should never happen. And luckily, the slot is still functional. As for the Emperor Zurg purple GPU power cable that wasn't even plugged in, we checked the GPU end of the cable under a microscope to try and determine if it was ever plugged in. There are two clear wear lines on one side that make us think it could have been partially inserted at one point, maybe even at an angle, but it's difficult to make conclusive judgment since we didn't see any visible change after inserting the cable ourselves. Either this was improperly partially connected or it was never connected at all, but either way, it's not right. The blame for this is all shared. MSI bears the responsibility for everything related to the GPU, including the cable and the GPU-based damage. The expanding foam bag is uninflated, therefore doing nothing to support the GPU, which would have prevented the damage here. We think proper use of the foam would have been enough. The case and cooler damage wouldn't have been stopped by the GPU expanding foam. It either happened prior to being boxed or during shipping. We can't know if it happened in Taiwan or on its way to the US, but it did travel a long way, so we'll split that blame. The MSI Z890 Gaming Plus Toy Story Edition has the most cosmetically customized UEFI we've ever seen. It's Woody themed with flannel and denim backgrounds, cow print menus, and stitched leather sidebars. It's actually pretty cool. Woody's boot is the cursor, complete with a tiny Andy signature. We assume Disney and Pixar were hands-on for the process because it seems higher quality than MSI's standard. This attention to detail is excellent and goes beyond what we expected. Our expectations stopped at externally themed components, so this is honestly really cool to see. Unfortunately for MSI, that's where the customization stops. There's no saved profile, and everything is set to default auto settings. That means the RAM's profile isn't set, leaving the DDR5 6400 kit running at 4800, which is a massive mistake, and it's tantamount to false advertising on the product page. Although the RAM can run at DDR5 6400, it wasn't set for that, and so claiming it in the specs is misleading and incorrect. Most of the pre-builts we've reviewed recently have cleared this hurdle. That wasn't always true, but here's MSI, resetting expectations back to 5 or 6 years ago. Also, we're not sure why Woody's going out of the frame on the exit screen and so unusually far away from his hat. One thing to think about here, we're not sure how BIOS updates are going to work. For now, MSI's landing page links to a normal version of the Z890 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. We're pretty sure here that future BIOS updates on this page would wipe the customization, but we can't know until there's one to test. Our recommendation would be, this is kind of one of the rare instances of not updating the BIOS unless they release a specific one for this build. Moving on to the Windows setup, MSI took the liberty of having a profile already in place, skipping the OOBE or out-of-box experience on the user's behalf, which is good. It's just custom BIOS splash, whimsical wallpaper jump scares, suspicious-looking command windows that blink in and out of existence, and that's it. Being a Taiwan exclusive, the language was set to Chinese characters, which makes sense and is easy to change. Windows itself was very clean, without bloatware on the desktop, start menu, or system tray. The wallpaper mysteriously disappeared at one point, but we've seen that as a general Windows bug before. Device Manager showed no missing drivers, which is always great to see, so they got everything installed. Overall, MSI missed on the BIOS setup by way of doing nothing, although it was nice to see the customization, but it hit with the OS setup. The only strange thing was booting straight into a preloaded user profile. Getting into the benchmarks, because there is still a technical review to this. We'll run the thermals first. System thermals at steady state and our usual full system torture load look good overall. The major components require relatively low power and are easily handled by their respective cooling solutions. The NVIDIA RTX 5070 averaged 61 degrees Celsius, with the memory junction at 60 degrees Celsius. The Intel 245K managed to have its E-cores average higher at 55 degrees Celsius than its P-cores at 53. This behavior matches what we saw in our original review of the 245K. MOS, PCH, SPD hub, and drive temperatures all fall well within acceptable ranges, though not specifically loaded during this test. Everything is fine here. Next is a plot of CPU thermals and fan speeds over time during our full torture workload. The CPU P-cores and E-cores immediately jump to the high 40s when the load starts, then ramp slowly to steady state by roughly the 500-second mark. PCH temperature follows a similar but slower rise. The untouched fan configuration is by nature devoid of nuance or care. The CPU cooler's pump runs flat out the entire time. The CPU fan goes from just over 1,000 RPM at idle to 1,500 at steady state with a ramp that mimics the rise in CPU temperature. The reverse blade case fans on the right side panel don't change speed much over the duration of the test, going from just under to just over 1,200 RPM. Now for a quick look at GPU thermals over time. Even though it's not the original GPU board and heatsink under the shroud, it should be functionally identical. It's all the same parts. The thermal interfaces never came off during the transplant either. It's completely fine here. GPU temperature goes from 25°C at idle to 60°C in just a few minutes, maintaining a flat trajectory. The fan speed does likewise, settling at 40% PWM duty cycle. This is great overall and tells us the GPU has access to plenty of air. We checked the Intel 245K's frequency behavior with the same blender load that we use for frequency validation in our standalone CPU reviews. Both the P-cores and E-cores sit 16 MHz below, on average, the original review sample. It's very close considering how different the test platforms are. This is well within silicon variants. Acoustic testing is next, performed in our hemi-anechoic chamber. Here we see the negative consequence of MSI not doing any fan tuning and running all the fan headers at their default curves. Though the system isn't loud per se, it doesn't change much during the test. The Toy Story pre-built averaged 31.5 dBA during idle, which quickly rose to 33.3 at steady state. There's definitely room to lower the speeds, particularly at idle, to get it down to a barely audible level if they had bothered to. Measuring full system power consumption at the wall can help us understand overall stability of our workload on the system under test, and more importantly, helps us know if the power supply is adequate. In this case, nothing unusual jumps out. The system idles at about 60 watts before the CPU load starts at 180 seconds in, bringing the system up to 190 to 200 watts, and then it snaps to the 420 to 440 watt range when the GPU joins it. All right, so we finished this whole review like a month ago, and now I'm coming back to finally finish the rest of the teardown. We felt like it deserved a little bit more than just the part that we've done so far in the testing, and immediately I'm justified in doing this teardown. Check that out. Is that I think that might be the binoculars, and that's just on the CMOS battery. That's actually really sick. I didn't notice that when we were swapping the GPUs. So that's a really cool small attention to detail. But let's take apart the rest of the system now that everything has been functioning, and make sure they didn't miss anything too important. Okay, so looking internally, I mean, they've got the established 1995, the date that the year the movie came out, the Woody, Sheriff, Disney Pixar logo on the chipset heatsink. That's a nice attention to detail. Looks like they've got I'm guessing that says 30 and beyond or something. We'll look at that. A113. Otherwise, I mean, we're just going to start taking this out. The screws are individually painted, so these brown screws, those are not, I don't think they're just made that color. That is paint from what I can see here. So there's a lot of small attention to detail. Let's start with the cables. So that was fully seated. Says USB 3 point, whatever. Also looks good. So everything's good here. So there's the Fury sticks. Kingston. I really don't want to take the radiator out. Okay. Well, those were definitely fully seated. Let's pull the cooler. Okay, screw torque's good. No issue with tension on any of these. That's a good sign. All right. Paste application's overall good here. So I've got 2 spots where the pressure is a little different right there and right there. But looking at the IHS here, they are making contact to the whole IHS. That looks good. And let's check on the SSD. I'm not sure which one they've got under. Actually, we'll check here first. So they do have the plastic peeled, which sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's happened before. This is just the 1 terabyte drive we talked about earlier, and it's not bent. So that's good. They've done better than Alienware. That's a hell of an arc. Holy shit. They really torqued the hell out of that. Oh my God. Last thing I'm gonna do is check all the screws on the board, but at this point, nothing else needs to come out of here. And we've already inspected everything else in just kind of a disconnected way this time. All right, cool. Screw tension's good. That's it. That's all we needed to do. It sat waiting for a while, but it's done now. I'm glad we got to check out the CMOS battery though, because that was a really unexpected, cool, small attention to detail thing. So let's get back to the rest of the review. So Toy Story pre-built is not worth buying from a pure component perspective. The value's not good. You get a 5070 and a 245K for almost $3,000 US if you can get it, and then you have to ship it if you're not in Taiwan. So we'll just get that out of the way right now. It's not good component value. The judgment here is a little different though, because we're judging more on all the other stuff more so than value. Typically value matters a whole lot. This time it's like you're buying it for a very specific reason, and that's harder to put a value on. And we like the willingness from MSI to try something new aesthetically. Really curious how this started and which company connected to the other one. We think it's a good thing anytime manufacturers offer real variety like this. And we've seen it before, for example, with Gundam components from Asus. Although these are reskins of parts, they're done well. The colors are a good fit for Toy Story. As a complete PC, the main positives are good thermal performance and a clean operating system. The list of negatives is far longer. First off, MSI completely failed at packing the inside of the PC appropriately and didn't expand the foam and the expanding foam bag to fill the space and support the GPU. The rest of the damage is probably the fact that it ships thousands of miles more than it's supposed to, but the GPU is on MSI. Other negatives include the price of almost $1,000 over DIY, the complete lack of BIOS settings customization, and therefore XMP being left off, so it's not meeting the advertisement. Although the sticks are capable of higher speeds, they're not operating at them. You'd have to do that yourself, and the lack of instructions or a quick start guide, which would be useful for new users. The fans could also have been managed better to allow for quieter idle operation. Or in other words, as Woody said,
You are a toy!
But we do think they executed well on the Toy Story elements, and probably Pixar was involved in a lot of that. That part's cool though. The product boxes are well done. They fit the theme. The colors are good. The customized UEFI was really impressive. Just genuinely did not expect that. And again, that maybe where MSI's experience comes in. If they said, hey, you know, we could also do this. I kind of doubt Pixar came up with that themselves. But either way, that was cool. It's too bad about the major mistakes from MSI overall. But at least it's executed well from a design standpoint, and we'd love to see more stuff like this in the PC space because it's just cool to see. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersnexus.net to support us and our ability to do stuff like this directly, or patreon.com/gamersnexus. We'll see you all next time.